Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with the spirit of truth, Spiritist Practitioner Edition. The book, Spiritist, the Spirit of Truth, was psychographed by two mediums, Waldo, Vieira and Chico Xavier, in Brazil in 1960, published in 1961. And today, 60 years later, we are relaying to you our free translation so we can educate ourselves, free ourselves from so many things, because truth sets us free, said Jesus, and it is so true. Today, a spirit friend of André Luiz, Hilario Silva. When you read Nosso Lar and other books, you're going to find him there. A friend of his, André Luiz' friend, who helped André Luiz. He studied Spiritism. He helped in many expeditions in the lower zones, and he understood that it's so important to disseminate these teachings to set people free. Today, he's going to talk about Kardec's Renewal. Can you believe it? This subset of messages that were chosen to discuss with you is also to boost in us inner strength, because in this time, during the pandemic, we need people to renew themselves. I know you may be tired of it all, but we need to renew ourselves safely, but mostly empower ourselves so we can reach out to people. This message by Hilario Silva is chapter 52 of the book, The Spirit of Truth, in Portuguese. It's not published in English yet. And this book gives to us, in this message, an account that maybe you've heard about it, maybe you've never heard about it. Do you get tired when you do the good? Do you get frustrated, overwhelmed, exhausted, even downcast? Do you think it did happen to Kardec? It happened to Kardec. This happened in 1860, a century before this message was brought to us through Hilario Silva. It's called a century ago. We just renamed it because the goal is to talk about Kardec's renewal. And this message by Hilario Silva references item 2 of chapter 25 of the Gospel According to Spiritism. In the Gospel According to Spiritism, chapter 25 is one of the most beautiful ones. It says, seek and you shall find. Oh, we want to find happiness and joy and fraternity, solidarity, right? Is that what we are seeking? Many people are not seeking that, but we are. Item 2 is Kardec's very words. He says in the first paragraph, from the earthly point of view, the maxim, seek and you shall find, is analogous to this one. Help yourself, and heaven will help you. It is the principle of the law of work, and consequently the law of progress, because progress is the child of work, and work sets in motion the powers of intelligence. And it goes on, beautiful chapter. Not only beautiful, deeply consoling, deeply rational, and it boosts in us the power of our will. How is your will doing? It's one of the potentialities of the soul. Our will. Chapter 2 of the book, Thought and Life by Emilio, he says, will gives direction to our thoughts. Will is everything. We need to boost that will in us. But you know, we're going to learn with the spirits in the Spiritist science, like in chapter 5, item 5 of the Gospel According to Spiritism, that there is one thing that really deters us from having a will that is strong, And I'll make a correction here for those, and I will give you a better reference. It's the subtitle, Melancholy. Melancholy. In chapter 5 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. It's item 25, sorry. Chapter 5, item 25. Francois de Genève says, resist the feelings of melancholy because they weaken your willpower. So if your willpower is weak, it's because you're too much in the past, melancholic, nostalgic. The past is in the past. Let it go. Let it go. We need to let go. Say, bless the past. Like Sister Sheila says in a message, bless everything. Bless the past. But the present is a gift. We can't think that the past is better. We need to make the present the best of our experiences. And to do so, we're going to boost. In doing so, we're boosting our will, and boosting our will, we can make things happen. To seek requires effort. So we can find. Kardec, like all human beings, had a day in which he was sad. Says Hilario Silva that Kardec, the Spiritist codifier, on a sad morning in April of 1860, he was exhausted, overwhelmed, somewhat downcast. It was a cold morning, you know, April, usually spring, but still cold. Although the consolidation of the Spiritist Society of Paris and the promising sale of the books was happening, the money for the gigantic tasks that the higher spirits gave him was somewhat scarce. There was so much to do when, imagine, he was the pioneer of all pioneers in Spiritism. And there was a lot of pressure. There was sarcasm. Says Hilario Silva that people were being sarcastic day after day. When he was showing discouragement, his wife, Amélie Boudet, Madame Revile, Mrs. Revile, or the sweet Gabby, that's her nickname, Gabby. She was used to come and deliver packages, and this time was a particular package that was kindly and carefully presented to Kardec. The professor, because he was a teacher, right, opened the package and found a simple letter. And the letter said the following. So let us visualize Kardec at home, a cold morning. Remember, we didn't have all the things we have nowadays, right? Heater. It was cold and we could feel it. And life was really challenging. Kardec, he published the first book, The Spirit's Book, in 1857, on April 18th, 1857. And 2 years later, on April, he was seeing the growth of Spiritism, but at the same time, the resistance. He was overwhelmed because he used to write back to every single person who wrote to him, caring for every single detail in the research by himself. His wife was supporting him all along. So then in this letter, in the package, there was a letter, and the letter said, Mr. Allan Kardec, my embrace. With my gratitude, I send to you the attached book, as well as history about it. First of all, so you can continue your tasks of illuminating humanity, because I have strong reasons to convince you of that. About 2 years ago, I married the one that proved to be my ideal companion. Our lives went smoothly and everything was joy and hope. And at the beginning of the year, unexpectedly, my Antoniette left this life by a very sneaky disease. My despair was indescribable. I thought I was condemned to extreme helplessness. Without trusting God, feeling the needs of any man in the world, leaving the distressing doubts of our century, I had decided to follow the path of so many others in the face of fatality. The trial of separation had won me over, and now I was nothing more than a human rag. I missed work. My boss, straight and harsh, threatened to fire me. My strength was running away. I had flirted with the Seine River several times, and I ended up planning suicide. And I thought it would be easy. I don't know how to swim, I thought. There were sleepless nights and days of anguish for me. In a cold dawn, when worries and discouragement overwhelmed me more strongly, I sought Pont Marie Bridge by the Seine River. I looked around, contemplating the current, and while fixing my right hand to throw myself into the river, I touched a somewhat wet object that moved from the rail, falling on my feet. Surprised, I took notice of a book that the dew had moistened. I took the volume in my hands, looking for the neighbor lamp with dim light. I could read, and right on the very front page, between irritated and curious, it was written, "This work saved my life. Read it carefully and take advantage of it." And it was signed A. Lohan. Stunned, I read the Spirit's book, to which I added a brief message, which the volume I pass into your selfless hands, giving you permission to do what you see fit. The message still contained the final thanks, the signature, the date, and the sender's address. The codifier then unpacked a copy of the Spirit's book, richly bound, on whose cover he saw the initials of his pseudonym. And on the cover, slightly tarnished, he read with emotion not only the observation to which the writer referred to, but also another in firm letters. It saved me too. God bless the cooperating spirits in this publication. Joseph Perrier. After reading that providential letter, Professor Revilio experienced a new light to innerbathe him, snuggling the book to his chest. He reasoned, no longer in terms of discouragement of suffering, but in terms of radiant hope. It was necessary to continue. Pardon the injuries, forgive the injuries, embrace the sacrifice, and ignore the stones. Before his spirit, the world in need of renewal and comfort. Allan Kardec got up from his old chair, opened the window in front of him, contemplating the public in the street, where he saw workers, women, children, elderly people. The remarkable worker of the great revelation took a long breath, and before returning the pen to its usual service, he took his handkerchief to his eyes and wiped away a tear. We are just so human, right? God put us together so we can help one another. But there are days in which we feel hurt, in which we feel it's too hard, in which we feel the stones cast on us. Kardec, the pioneer of a new era on earth, following Jesus' steps, he had his days as well. He had his companion to help him out. But as Chico Xavier taught us in his life, the good that we do become our own advocate in difficult times. The very book that he worked consoled him too. Friend, today I received a call, and this person who is in her third age was telling me about some sorrows of her soul. Mentor Joseph said, tell her that no matter how old you are, you're always useful to God. Be useful and the problems will go away. Find a new purpose in life. When we think that we need to stop because we're sick, stop doing the good because we're old, we're signing a sentence saying, I am materialistic. We cannot deter ourselves. We need to go on. Kardec, on that morning of April 1860, he was experiencing that feeling of the hardships of the work on the good, of the good on earth. It's not simple because it's misunderstood. We don't have enough help. Thanks to somebody who received his help, he was renewed. Friends, we won't renew in hope. We won't be happy without charity. When Kardec opened the window and looked at the people, he understood he needed to go on. 4 years later, he would publish the Gospel According to Spiritism, which is the main reason why we're studying these messages in the book, The Spirit of Truth. Imagine if he had stopped at the masterpiece, the Spirit's book, which Mentor Joseph said many years ago that it's like the constitution of the soul. It's the manual of ourselves. What if he had stopped saying, oh, I already did everything? No. As any science of the good, which is the Spiritist science, we need to go on and continue like Chico Xavier. Imagine if he had written a few books. We would miss so much, like books like this, The Spirit of Truth. When you do the good, many people have this misunderstanding. They do something good and they say, that's the landmark of the good in my life. No, we can't. We can't. Not at all. We must go on and continue. More and more and more. You and I are invited today to renew ourselves towards the general good. We have 24 hours to multiply the good in whatever way we find. Renew ourselves, renew our hope by renewing somebody else's hope. We hope that you feel empowered, encouraged, because God needs you. We need one another. If you stop, we'll miss it. We can't stop. More. Like Divaldo Franco said to me one day, I asked, Divaldo, how do you do it? That you psychograph, have dimension of the way, you travel and you help. He said, Vanessa, I always focus on the present, on the thing I have to do next. I don't look at the past, what happened in the past. I don't contemplate it, say, oh, how, because that's what majority of people do. Wow, look what I've done. 10 years went by, people say, I do charity. Oh, really? Where do you do charity? Oh, 10 years ago, we used to serve soup. 10 years ago, it's already another life. We're talking about today. What you did in the past is already the past. What are we doing in terms of the good today? Not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. And those things that we do will certainly become our network of safety. So friends, have a wonderful day in renewal, in the good. Let us build this task force and do the good, do the good, do the good. A big hug to you. Until tomorrow, God willing.